Uh, Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm in the presence of my peers here at Inverloch SES, and as the camera pans around, they're going to do it. I'm going to be talking about TAEP DD 401. That is a module that I've had to do to upgrade my training and assessor qualifications. And I'm going to give a 10-minute talk regarding my experience so far on that module. So I found, and I'll refer to that as 401 instead of going through all the letters. 401 has certainly pushed me to think critically about how we design and deliver professional development in the vet sector. Now, all of us here are in the vet sector, whether you like it or not, unless you're doing tertiary study at a university or going back to school. We are in the vet sector. Every course that you do now will be vet driven. I realised that balancing work study and sector engagement requires more than just good intentions, because when I first started 401, I read the course and I thought, my goodness me, what have I got myself into? Because I thought I'm going to have hours and hours and hours of work. But if you start to think about it and you get a structured plan, you can work through it fairly quickly. There was 6 tasks in this module. Each task took approximately a week and a bit with my study plan that I put forward to. I learned that planning isn't just ticking boxes, it's about creating space for learning, reflection and continuous improvement. They're the nice words that you want to talk about. But without the plan, I certainly would have failed. The key takeaways are understanding the vet landscape for 401, because when I did my initial vet training back in 2010, there wasn't all of this web-based information out there. I had to go and sit in a classroom and study like I was at school, but now it's totally different. I had to deepen my knowledge of the national frameworks, including understanding the standards for registered training organisations, and also understand the Australian qualification framework and the training packages that are within that framework. It helped me align my expectations with what I was supposed to study and now deliver. I had to collaborate and communicate, and the unit reinforced the importance of working with colleagues in the industry that we're going to be talking about and the stakeholders to maintain relevance and quality. And then I had to plan for my personal development. And the personal development was about doing 401. My study plan, I'm running a bit too quick. My studying plan, I approached my study plan using backward planning. So once I read the course, I realised that I needed to dedicate a little bit of time. So I thought, where do I need to finish is to where I need to begin. So I went forward 10 weeks and I worked back from there. And I put the 6 tasks in a week and a bit around. And in those tasks, I had to allocate time, which was very important because, as a lot of people in this room know, being retired is a very busy life. I had to balance the study that I needed to do with all the other things that I was doing in my retirement. And certainly, education wasn't one of them. So it was a real eye-opener for me. But I used the SMART Guide to do that. And the SMART Guide, it certainly worked well for me. I set my goals, and once I got the tasks done, I was able to tick them off. Now, the SMART Guides are certainly something that we should think about because they're measurable, achievable, relevant and time-based. Yep. So, and why planning matters, because I could get I don't use the internet a lot, so once you get in there, you start to get sidetracked because one click can take you somewhere else, and you start reading and you think, oh, that's interesting, and then that leads you somewhere else. So I started to get a little bit conscious about being sidetracked via the internet. So I had to be very, very focused on the tasks that I needed to do because it was all reading and internet-based study. So I had to prioritise my time effectively, track the progress against the outcomes, ensure the evidence that I collected systematically using the internet and other tools I maintained. And without that plan, I'd risk missing my submission deadlines, which I set for myself. I'd produce rushed or incomplete work, overlooking key compliance requirements, and feeling overwhelmed. And I did feel overwhelmed at times because I was taking on a lot of information, and that concerned me. So, but in the vet sector, that is not just a personal issue, it affects learners, colleagues, and credibility of our practice. So the contingency plans and risks. Of course, even the best plans face challenges. Some risks I identified, including workload spikes, technology failures, and I'll reiterate on that a bit more, online distractions, which I did start to talk about, and fatigue, burnout. Technology failures, I just use my own PC, I use my own naming references and folders. So when I had to send information off, I sent information to Peter, I sent information to my mentor, David Herman. I had to email them. So I've learnt with this, perhaps I need to branch out and use online technology, which would reduce all those things. Naming conventions that I come up with aren't necessarily standard naming conventions for everybody else. So I was concerned about if I had a technical failure, I'd have lost all my work. So I continuously backed up to my PC, but what happens if my PC failed? I was in all sorts of strife. So I needed to start to learn to do it online. And I'm still learning because it's not an easy process. So I had to minimise the risks. I had to put in risk buffers, redundancy systems, distraction blockers, and wellness and routine. So during my week, I would set aside Monday, 2 or 3 hours in the morning, then have lunch and come back to it, or go and do something else. Tuesdays I do something in my personal life, so I had to do my study on Tuesday afternoons. Wednesday was Wednesday morning, because I do something on Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday are completely out, because we all know Friday's Poets' Day and you don't want to hang around doing any of those sort of things. So I had to do that. Just check where we are. So it is extreme, and one of the tools that I adopted was OneDrive. You guys have heard that. SharePoint and Google Workspace. They were a big learning curve for me in that idea. So the final thoughts. 401 has reinforced the planning is not just a skill, it's a mindset. It's about being proactive, reflective, and committed to quality. By integrating technology, anticipating risks, and aligning my schedule with my thoughts and values, I'm not just completing the unit, I'm trying to model new attitudes to the practice of what 401 has taught me. Thanks for listening, and if you're navigating your own study journey, I encourage you to treat planning as a form of professional leadership. Thank you for your time.
You haven't finished, you have 7 seconds left.
No, I'll finish.